Welcome to Making Music.
Hello.
Okay. Well, here we are with Fender Amplifiers again, and it was too big a show for, or too much to talk about for one show, and so we're back. And I'm Gary from Guitar Showcase for Making Music, and with me, way over on my on my left right here, I've got Shane Nicholas from Fender, and you're the product manager for amplifiers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we still have the infamous Mark Blasquez, who's the regional manager, or
district sales manager,
and
all-around
Fender.
Fun guy.
Okay, yeah, all-around fun guy. We don't want to forget that. But now, you had some people backing you on that. Tell us about what you just did. Now, last week, we did the vintage amplifiers. You talked a little bit about a supersonic, and then you segued kind of into what the future might hold. I didn't see anybody else playing with you, but yet I heard other people playing with you. What did you do?
Okay, well, at Fender we try to give a little bit of everything to the musicians and the aspiring musicians of the world. And one thing that we noticed over the years is that those of us that have kids would get a new video game, whether it be an Xbox or a PlayStation or a this or that device, and they'd take the thing out of the box and plug it into the TV and start having fun immediately. And then after they get bored with the cartridges or the discs or whatever that they have, they'd go to the store and buy another couple of new game, pieces for it, again, cards or discs or whatever, take it home, not even crack an owner's manual, and be having fun.
Right.
So, myself and all the other guys working on amps at Fender, we started saying, man, we should have something that's like a Fender video game. And that's kind of where it started. And it ended up coming, back around to reality where what we ended up with was the G-DEC series of amplifiers. G-DEC standing for Guitar Digital Entertainment Center. And what these amplifiers have is a very familiar Fender look and Fender control kind of feel, but they have bass and drums and other instruments built in. So, Gary, what I was doing at the top of the show here is playing my G-DEC with the accompaniment. So I'm going to hit the foot switch. Okay, so what you're hearing there is a basic 4/4 groove with a rock and roll drum beat and a bass guitar in E doing eighth notes. And then I have what I'd call a music store tone, a typical rock and roll guitar tone added to it. So when I play guitar, the tone that you're hearing with the distortion and the echo and everything is appropriate to that type of music.
It's all built right in.
Built right into the amp. Now, backing tracks and backing CDs and drum machines and all these kind of devices have been around for ages, so it's not like we invented that. But what we did at Fender managed to do that was completely brand new was put this all in an amplifier that you could pick up and take to your bedroom or take to the back porch or the patio or the schoolroom or the guitar lesson and have all that stuff built in.
Absolutely. We'll start with one thing, because one of the issues we at Guitar Showcase, we have Showcase Music Institute. We have about 600 students that go through there every week, and tuning a guitar is one of the toughest things for a beginner. And if you're not in tune, you can't learn. So what did you do about that?
Well, the Guitar Digital Entertainment Center, G-DEC, has a built-in tuner. And it's a digital chromatic tuner, chromatic meaning it'll do any key. And if we can get a close-up on this here, I'm going to hit my E string. And then, can you see that? There you go. And you can see I'm a little bit flat, so I'm going to tune up. There's my E, my B.
Dude, you were out of tune.
I was rocking too hard. I went out of tune.
Tune it or die.
Okay, so... And again, having a tuner in your possession is nothing new. It's been around for probably 30 years. But having a very high quality one built into the amp with the effects, with the backing band treatment, right. It's really convenient.
Because you always lose the tuner, you break it, the battery is dead, there's something wrong, and now we have a digital tuner built right in.
Right. So
that's the start.
So anyway, these amps, we've got a few different models here, and there are more to come in the future, I'm sure. But these models really allow a beginner all the way up to a professional. We have professionals like Eric Johnson and Stevie Winwood and on, who have adopted the G-DEC as their backstage or their tour bus amp because you can program in any effect settings, echo times, and tones that you might be using in the concert that night and work on the songs backstage. And again, without having a tuner and an effects box and an amp and all these other pieces of gear.
And not to mention that each of the grooves, like you just played that one in E, you could change the key of that, you could also change the tempo, you could change whatever you want. So you're not stuck. There's several different styles of music in there, and then within each style you can customize it to whatever you're in the mood to do.
Can we go through some?
Yeah, let's do an example of that.
Let's do that.
The preset that I was just playing is called Rockin' G-DEC Again. It's the first one that you encounter when you turn the amp on.
Okay.
Obviously I've been playing for a long time. I know my scales and everything, but if you're a player that doesn't know the first thing about, gee, how do I play this thing, you can still start it up. And even if you're just hacking away, you know, making noise, you've got the right tone and the right feel that it's fun. And let's face it, if it's fun, you're probably going to practice longer and work more on it because it's not torture.
Right.
You know, so, and then as you go through the different backing patterns, we'll go up to the next one. Nope. There we go. Next one here is the Chicago Blues. The drum sound has changed to a little drum kit. The bass is a upright, you know, violin bass. And the guitar tone is not the heavy metal tone anymore. It's more of a little small Fender amp sound with a little bit of room reverb. So if you think of B.B. King or Buddy Guy or Stevie Ray Vaughan or any of these kind of players that played basic Chicago blues, this is the kind of tone and feel for playing that style of music. If it's a student learning their blues scale, so they have something to practice over instead of just sitting by themselves being bored to tears learning the music. So we've got heavy metal stuff in here. There's like, you know, 80s metal kind of thing with a chorus pedal on, which we heard to death back in that era.
Let's hear it.
See, I used to be able to play this style better when I had more hair.
More hair, yeah.
So, you know, you get the idea, shredding. And then, you know, after a hard day, you know, Mark, district sales manager in the Bay Area, he's had a bad day. He just wants to have an Anchor Steam in a cold mug and, you know, work out a little the ladies' man preset.
It's important to have a sensitive side, I find.
The ladies love him.
Welcome to the Lizard Lounge.
Yes, the reptile lounge.
Up. No charge for bad notes.
That's a jazz
So
part.
you get the idea. There's blues, jazz. There's some hip hop stuff in there. There's some old R&B, some newer R&B, some electronica type of presets. Enough to keep you busy for quite a while you're learning guitar or rehearsing as a experienced player.
And just as many amp tones too. I mean, for each of the different styles of music that are in the G-DEC, there's as many interesting and unusual and accurate amp tones for that.
So can I change the guitar setting for a various rhythm
Absolutely. If I wanted to have, let's say, the Chicago Blues thing we were doing. Okay. Now we were talking about how typical blues player would have a small tube amp and a room reverb. Okay, but if I want to go into the G-DEC here, into my amp type, and put maybe, you know, a heavy fuzz on it, or a British stack sound, or something like that, or maybe I want to change that effect, so instead of being a little room reverb, maybe we have a delay on there. Let me turn that delay time up a little bit.
So all the parameters are adjustable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so... Okay, so I have a long delay on there.
With the blues beat.
With the blues beat. Okay, so there's my blues pattern again, but I'm gonna Okay, so you have the juxtaposition of the metal guitar tone and the blues thing. Or let's make it faster. Go in your drum. Okay.
Little shuffle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the broken down old blues band. So, and there's the smaller G-DECs have 70 patterns. The new G-DEC 30 has about 85, I think, patterns in there. So it's enough. Between that, changing the tempo, changing the key, changing the guitar tone, it's enough to keep you busy and entertained for a long time. And the funny thing that we keep hearing is that, you know, say you get, you know, a country guy comes in your store and he's playing a Telecaster and he's playing his Alan Jackson or his Buck Owens or whatever songs, and when no one's looking, he puts it on the heavy metal preset. And you know?
Everyone's got a little guilty metal in them.
Oh,
yeah, it's all about the fun. You know, if
it
guitar
is.
playing can't be fun, it's like, what are we doing it for? You know,
Right,
So-
exactly.
Now,
So
what other kind of differences are like? What else is new in the 30? I know the foot switch is a new function, and there's also some recording features that might be.
Yeah, the original G-DEC, of which, what am I doing here? The original G-DEC is this model here in the regular black, and then it's also available in a nice sunburst finish. This is called the Deck Exec. In fact, I'll turn it here. You can see that maple sunburst cabinet. That's just for, like, you know, you have the, you know, executive in the office or whatever, and or in a nice living room.
In a living room setting, a lot of
Exactly.
guitar players keep a nice guitar and amp in their living room.
Right. And the next model up is called the G-DEC 30, which has some more power, a larger speaker, more patterns built in, more controls. And it also has a foot switching capability, which is especially fun with the phrase sampler. So I'm going to go back to my Rock 101 thing here. Okay, and I got my heavy metal. Okay, I got that tone on there. Now I'm going to hit record. Oh, security.
Wrong button.
Wrong button. First day with the new switch. Okay, so we're going to get this started, and then we're going to hit record. Here's my click again. Now it's recording. Okay, and then we're going to go over here and stop it, and then overdub. Just keep yourself excited for hours, just overdubbing an infinite number of parts on top of that.
So you can actually, you just digitally recorded what you did.
Yeah, it's a phrase sampler.
And then just played back with yourself there and then made
Right.
it work.
Store it.
So recording, as far as digital recording, it does. How about if you wanted to record with this amplifier?
There are outputs on the back of the amplifier, stereo outs,
Okay,
and
to go into a board?
Go into a mixing board,
Or to one of the
recorder,
digital recorders?
Digital recorder, PA system to play. You know, maybe you're playing, you know, your uncle's birthday party, or you're playing some, you know, little restaurant gig or something like that. You could go out to a PA system
So,
with it.
for a big sound.
Right,
Okay.
right. So it's kind of a, you know, one-man band type of approach. It's not designed for a rock concert, but
No.
it's designed for you know, someone who just wants to have a little backing activity.
But I can
behind
see
them.
some kids at home. Dad's got a big, you know, surround sound system for the home theater.
Sure.
They'll line out into that auxiliary in, and we have some horsepower. That's going to sound good.
That is true.
Sure, and you can use the foot switch. I mean, for people who do like a one-person band kind of a thing, can even use
Absolutely.
this to stack the different presets in a certain order, and they can just kind of go to town and have
Sure.
their whole
You
backing
can just go
band.
through the sequence. Well, now, this is all great and wonderful. How much does this cost? What's the street price on the standard G-DEC?
Standard G-DEC starts around $269 in the U.S. street price.
So that's not bad.
Very reasonable. If you added up a tuner and a drum machine and all those things,
Not to mention what you have to pay the drummer and the bass player.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so how much is the bigger guy, the G-DEC 30?
Another $100 for the G-DEC
Really?
30.
So that's and that's just now coming out.
Just now coming
Okay,
out.
so
yes.
that'll be out for the Christmas '06 season.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct. And I'm not a bass player, but we've also come out with a unit for bass as well.
The B-DEC.
For bass players to have the same, playing along with the drummer kind of vibe.
I can see a future show for that guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
And then finally, one thing I would like to point out about the G-DEC 30 that's very significant is it can store computer song files. So anyone with internet access can go online and do a search for MIDI downloads. MIDI means musical instrument digital interface, and they can go online and download basically music, everything from Beethoven and classical music all the way up to rock bands of today.
Standard MIDI file.
Standard MIDI file, and dump it into the G-DEC, and it will store those songs, and it can play back the internal synthesizer. So the drum sounds and the bass sounds and all the other instruments will be coming out of the amp. So after
the MIDI file.
Right. So after you get bored with the 85 patterns that are in the amp to start, then you can start going to the next step and loading songs in. And again, to be able to take that to your aunt and uncle's anniversary party and play Happy Birthday for them, or to take it to your friend's house because you're going to jam with another guitar player or whatever, to store the songs in there is a cool thing.
Now, is there somewhat of a community going to build? Is Fender.com going to have some downloads available, you think?
We're starting to do that. We've done a little bit of it with, we have an artist named Greg Koch that I believe you know, Gary. That's
Absolutely. He does the intro for this show. They've all heard him.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that works.
Yeah. We're getting the high sign. Are we done here?
We're fine. We're doing good here. Good. We've got about 10 minutes to go, so we need to move on a little bit. Now, what else have you got? What is this little guy down here?
Okay, well, in the spirit of some of the new things that Fender has come out with, obviously G-DEC being huge news and huge success for us, but a couple of the other things that have been really nice on the technology front are you have an amp called the Acoustasonic Ultralight. And it's got a lot of power in a very tiny package.
So that would look good on someone's desk, actually.
Yeah, Mark's playing a nice Fender acoustic through this right now. This is you can see I'm just picking this up with two hands really easily. This amplifier weighs 7.5 pounds and has 250 watts of power.
Wow.
It's really beautiful, solid maple sides and top panels. It's a 2-channel amp, so we can plug a vocal mic into one channel and the guitar into the other channel and go out and do a performance somewhere, all self-contained. And then the cabinet that it's sitting on is a stereo ultralight cabinet. It weighs about 20 pounds. But it handles the full power of the amplifier, it's stereo, and it has very high quality dome tweeters in there, so it sounds more like what you'd hear in a recording studio than just a typical guitar amp.
So that little guy will go fairly loud. Can you bring up the volume a little bit?
Oh, absolutely.
Sounds great.
You've got effects built in there, like maybe you want some delay. Yeah. So again, all self-contained. We make this model for the acoustic instruments, and then we also have a model called the Jazzmaster Ultralight, which is designed specifically for jazz players, but also for anyone who does what we would call casual gigs, a wedding,
Sure.
a small club gig where they want to just go in really quickly, or especially for big city players who maybe take a taxi or they have a really small car, you're in the Bay Area, the parking's at a premium.
Can be an issue.
You have your little tiny vehicle, and you can take one of these amps out and have a lot of power without, a huge rig.
You don't have that parking problem in Arizona, do you?
No, we don't. You actually can't be a pedestrian in Arizona.
Oh, because you guys don't stop. Okay. All right. So what else have you got that's new?
Okay, moving on, another kind of interesting marriage of technology and the old tube technology is the Princeton Recording Amp. Now, vintage Fender Princetons, such as we have over here, the old blackface one, are starting to become very popular on the collector's market. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. Very popular on the collector's market because it's a nice, rich tube sound, but it's very small. You can carry it to a recording session or something, and it's a nice size. We had been considering reissuing that amp, but at the same time, one of our engineers was working on this brand new science project called a transimpedance power attenuator. Now, for the uninitiated, an attenuator just means holding back. So you want to turn up the amp loud so you get that really good overdriven sound, and then the attenuator allows you to turn the volume of the speaker down. This is a very, very sophisticated one of these that the amplifier acts exactly the same way no matter where you set the volume of the speaker, which is a very new thing. If you want more information, go to fender.com and read up on that one.
For the technical data.
But anyway, I'll plug
plug
a Stratocaster in here and show you what I'm talking about. My regular stock American Fat Strat here.
Yeah, and this is specifically addressing an issue that guitar players have had for a long time, and the G-DEC addresses it in a different way, but we all love the sound of a great tube amp turned up really, really loud, but even in the best of situations, sometimes that is just too loud.
Tough to do.
Yeah.
So an amplifier like this set clean is designed for a very nice, sparkly, rich, clean sound. Okay, but then you turn the amplifier up loud, and because it's a tube amp, okay, the amp records really nice. I'll go to another pickup on the guitar. You can hear the tone is completely different as you change the pickups on the guitar. That's one of the hallmarks of a great amp, is that it really enhances the changes that you make on the guitar. If you turn the tone control down on the guitar, you play hard or you play light. Okay, so what the Princeton Recording Amp allows you to do is to get that cranked up amp tone, but then turn the volume of the speaker down. So I'm turning this down really quiet, and it feels exactly the same as it did before, and I have line outputs to go to recording gear or to a house sound system, but I'm very quiet. It can be 1 o'clock in the morning and your wife or your girlfriend or your kids are sleeping in the next room, and you can still enjoy that natural Fender tube tone.
Sure.
And of course, turn it all the way up, and then that science project is completely out of the circuit and you're hearing just the amp.
Cuts it out, yeah.
Okay, then we also, since we needed about this much space to get this attenuator in the amp, we decided to give you a couple of other effects built in, and these are based on old stomp boxes, effects pedals that every guitar player has some in his closet or in his or her gig bag. One of them being a compressor. Turn the amp down a little bit again. Compressor gives you sustain without distortion. So if we set the amp clean and we put that compressor on there, it's going to squash the note. When I first pick it, it squashes it, but then it lets the note keep sustaining. So
Yeah, you get almost like a keyboard-like quality about
yeah,
that. The notes will sustain.
Put some of
until
that nice
until you're
natural
done, yeah.
reverb on there, maybe a little bit of the arm on the guitar here.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So that compression on the clean guitar gives you a really nice pad for either behind a vocalist or, you know, in a quieter part of a song that you're recording. And then we also have, you got to have an overdrive. So turn that guy on. Bring the level up here. Okay, clean amp. Overdrive. So it's a nice thick overdrive, but it's not drastically changing the tone of the amp. It still sounds natural.
It sounds good.
So.
And then another important thing to point out is that those circuits, the compressor and the overdrive, actually show up in front of the amplifier circuit, right, where they should.
That is very true. If you were taking your Stratocaster guitar here and plugging it into a couple of pedals, your guitar pickups hit those effects first and then go out into the amp. In this amp, when those are switched off, you're hearing just straight tube amp. When they're switched in, you're hearing the guitar going to them first and then to the tube amp from there.
Well, we're about out of time, guys. Play a little tune right now, and we'll get
get
on with it here. Let's hear these guys.
I think I'm going to go.
Sounds good. We're about done, and thank you for coming as usual. Thank
Always
you for
an honor.
Fender.
Always fun.
Appreciate it. Hit it.
Thank you, Gary.